Let's open with prayer. Let us pray. Blessed and loving Lord, I come before you this evening just excited about the people here. I can see on my screen the people who have come here interested in helping to share God's love throughout the world. I'm excited so many people have that desire. It's a great ministry, and it's also a little bit difficult at times for us, even a little scary. So, what we want to do is ask you now to send your Holy Spirit upon us, to empower us, to enthuse us, to grant us the gift of tongues in the sense of having the right words to say when we do have the opportunity to say them. We ask all this in your gracious name. Amen.
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 All right, if you will mute yourself, I will go ahead and share screen. Yes, we are recording. There we go. Slideshow. From beginning. Get that off my screen, and we're set to go. All righty. As I said, please mute yourself. You have an advantage over the morning group. We're having our roof replaced, and the morning group had a constant pounding in the background as we were talking about it. So hopefully we won't get any of that tonight. All right, tonight what we're going to do is I'm actually doing things backwards a little from the way I normally do, and it seemed to work well this morning. So we'll see what you think. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with talking about possible events and activities that you can do. 4 of them I mentioned last week. We'll go into those in more depth, and a few that we didn't mention last week. Then we'll have the refresher on the major points. And my thinking and trying it this way is you will then have in your mind an event or something that you may want to consider doing, and you can apply these the major points, the refresher on each of them as you've already decided or they're thought about. And as I say, with about 90% certainty, I can show you how to bring people to your doors, and some of those will come into your doors, not all of them. But this stuff really works. I sent you out a research paper way back at the beginning of some of the churches that have been involved. And by the way, if I say anything, I've been sending so much stuff out, and our mail list kept on getting changed this week. So I fear I maybe have missed people. So if I say I sent you something and you don't recall getting it, just put something in the chat or wait for the Q&A and tell me, and I will get you another copy. This one, I'm sure everybody remembers very well, but I think it's just something we can't emphasize enough, that it's better to do one thing well than do multiple things poorly, because you can't do it all. A more likely end state is you get overwhelmed and you just stop, or you get confused and you aren't sure where to go and you aren't sure who to ask. Well, in this case, I can say you can ask me. I don't know everything. I don't claim to. What I claim to do is know a lot of people who know a lot of things. So I can usually get an answer to your questions around this topic. There's my email and cell phone. Any question at all, feel free to contact me. And as we talk about this, I keep on saying, do what works in your context. If you want help brainstorming, just saying, maybe we'll do this, maybe we won't do that, feel free. I'd be happy to get on another Zoom and we can talk about your situation and help to make decisions. All right, this first one is one we did talk about some last week. It's an activity that most of our own members don't even know go on. But I argue it's the most powerful spiritual event of the year. And that statement should say, for me. We take the palms that symbolized our devotion to Jesus last Palm Sunday, and now we burn them to acknowledge our failure, our lack of living up to those promises we made. Typically, clergy do it in private. Some clergy buy the ashes on Amazon. I didn't know you could do that, but Amazon will get you about anything. And what I'm suggesting instead, make this a public event. Like I say, it's a powerful symbol, spiritual symbolism. I would recommend not doing it Sunday morning if your desire is to have news coverage at the event and or guests. It's better to have an independent for that kind of thing. It's a great opportunity for press release. And on several of these, I'm going to make that statement. A good friend of mine, or not a friend, but a man I look to a lot for information, he calls it a brain gap, something people don't know. And when you mention it to them, they begin to wonder. And if they wonder, they'll pay attention. So this is definitely one of those. It's great visual, so there's a good chance you'll have a shot at TVs, particularly in small to medium-sized markets. You may or may not see TV or media, but you will get a lot of awareness through your social media. People will pay attention to you. And I sent you a model press release on this. This is also an opportunity to briefly explain Ash Wednesday in the press release and then in the event itself. This is a fantastic opportunity to do a reel. Now, those are the vertical videos analogous to TikTok, but not TikTok. Usually filmed with your camera held up vertically, and you explain what's going on. You probably don't have anything to use from last year or previous year, so stage it. Just go ahead and stage it. Have a fire going in the background and somebody putting in some palms and somebody talking about what's going on. And the thing about scheduling is, I know you got so much going on that it's important that you sit down, and I'll talk about this a little later, and schedule this and the other so you know what it is you're going to do. This is my second favorite. Not many people do it, and yet it's the one most likely to get you interactions with new people. Basically, you place a cross somewhere people are going to walk by, and I'm going to show you photos of a couple of churches in just a minute. At the church is perfect, but if you don't have a lot of walkers, find another place. A business might give you permission in their parking lot or, wherever. Of course, if you're away from your church, make sure your church is identified. Explain it. You can have a little poster probably explaining it. Explain it for any prayers. It can be prayers of praise. It can be prayers of thanksgiving. It could be a confession. It could be anything at all. Have something for people to do physically, analogous to lighting a candle. I'll show you one that was made out of tree branches, and they just had some extra tree branches there. And when people left their prayer, they put another branch in the cross to symbolize their prayer. Lots of places use a stone, just little small stones, and you move it under the cross. You move it from someplace to under the cross to symbolize that. Give them the option of writing a prayer request. Also, allow them to fill out a contact form, even if they don't want to leave a prayer request. But give them the option of leaving a prayer request on the back of the contact form. You just get a mailbox or something for people to put them in. Tell them that you will include their request in the church's prayer group, personal prayers, whatever. And then, of course, respond to anything you get. If somebody has left a prayer, just thank you for honoring us with your prayer request. If you're going to include them in the prayers of the people, and you probably won't get so many that you couldn't say, we had prayers for healing from cancer, prayers for, whatever. You probably get a few. I hope you get too many. If you do get them and you're going to use them during your prayers of the people, on your poster, say that. You just might have somebody show up to hear their prayer mentioned. Again, a great news release, very visible. It's flexible in the sense TV can come whenever they want. And I would announce this on social media once a week, at least through Lent. The more I think about it, the more I think I probably would, obviously without identifying anybody, not giving too much information, say something like, this week we received prayers for healing from cancer, for a new job, that kind of stuff. Just general things, just to invite people to come by and do what they're going to do. This is a picture of a couple of them. The one on the left is the cross made out of branches that I mentioned. Down, it'd be, as we're looking at the photo, lower right, they had the pile of branches you could add. I didn't get that in the photo. And the one on the right If anybody knows what church that is, please let me know. I love it, but I can't remember what church sent it to me. As I say, they have their chair there, and they have a little table, and the larger box is the mailbox for leaving your prayers, or no, larger box is the stones to put under the cross, and the smaller box is the mailbox. And you can consider doing this as an online Lenten prayer cross. Have a landing page, have a page that people can fill out their form, and then that gets back to you, and always respond. If it goes 24 hours and you haven't responded, it's gone too long. You can again announce it on social media at least once a week. Pancake dinner. Lots of different churches do that. It's a great way to attract young families. You know, you tell a young family, we'll feed your kids for free, and that's a real attractive thing. We seldom attract friends to church, but maybe this is something we would invite people to. And I sent you a model, I'll show it to you again, of tickets you can use. I know a lot of churches use this as a fundraiser, maybe for the youth group or something. That's fine, but you want your guests to be free. In fact, I like it when other people pay and the guests are free. I think that has more impact. So ask your members to sponsor a guest family, and I will personally send you $20 to sponsor some people. Just let me know who to send the check to. Why are you having pancakes at church? Again, brain gap. Ask it as a question. It's a great post, a real news release. TV is a good possibility. It's different enough. I will send you a model press release. I also have a generic slideshow I'll send you. I did it so I can say it's not really great, but it's okay. Use it if you want. You probably won't have dozens of guests. You probably won't run out of pancake mix, but I'd be kind of expecting at least a couple or more. You again want to always have a system to get contact information. Remember, that's what it's all about. It's getting that contact information. I will send you a half-page explanation of Shrove Tuesday and Ash Wednesday, just kind of a paragraph on each to help to explain what's going on that I used. These can be left on the table. They can be used as a post. What I did, just FYI, is I had several of these. I remember I had maybe 10 of them on different topics that I would just use as bulletin inserts occasionally. And in that purpose, I was actually trying to teach my own members about some of this stuff. Okay, this is the form I mentioned, and I got you a blank one, so you can fill in the information, the date, the time, the church name, address, and all that kind of stuff. And it's set up to print, as you can see, 4 postcards per sheet. I recommend doing it on index weight paper or heavier. So if you hand it to somebody, it's harder for them to crush it up in their hand and lose it. All right, ashes to go. We were talking about this just a few minutes ago. Ashes to go and Ash Wednesday. I know a lot of people, a lot of clergy hate ashes to go. One of our bishops his eyes roll to the back of the head if you even say it. But personally, I take the attitude I'd rather have a minute or two with a person than no time at all. I look at it basically as an appetizer. People wonder what this is all about. So again, if you explain it, why dirt on the forehead as a good headline, that kind of, and I'd use dirt rather than ashes. It just jumps out more in the headline. When they have those questions, they will watch your reel, read your post, all that kind of stuff. For inactive Roman Catholics, Ash Wednesday is a big deal. It's one of the biggest deals on the church calendar for Roman Catholics, and they don't know where to go. And if you're going to do communion as part of your church service, emphasize that they're welcome at communion. Many of them don't realize they can get communion at an Episcopal church. If you do the ashes to go, pick a public place. If you have a lot of traffic on the street in front of your church, fantastic. That's probably the best place. But if You don't. One church does it in the, hold on just one second. People from our parish on Facebook. I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not either.
Okay, we'll get it later. Sorry. One church does it in the center of town. It's about a block from their church, so they could point to it if anybody asked. But their church is kind of on a little bit of a side street. Another, I thought this was kind of neat. They got permission, went to the YMCA and set up a tent and did it. I think it was 5:30 to 8 or something like that. Forget those people that come in to exercise early. Got a lot of good reaction. One thing you may want to think about is offering blessed ashes to chaplains around you, military chaplains, nursing home, whatever. Even if they don't want them, you've made a good contact. As always, have a system to offer contact cards. And I will send you, and I put the word liturgy in quotes. It's just a one page. It has a little explanation of what's going on, a prayer that we would use, and then an explanation, of making the sign of the cross with the ashes. I'll send you that. You can print it out however you want, if you want. Lenten programs. Our Lenten program might be fantastic, but the titles, almost always the titles are as boring as possible. It's like we're trying to disinvite people. I mean, studying the Gospel of John might be interesting for your own members, but for someone who's out there not going to church, that is not going to pull them in the door. We are asking people to invest part of their lives. We need to understand that. Tell them why this is a good use of their time. They don't know that. So, for example, you could do, again, questions work better than statements. Does God expect me to forgive my abuser? Okay, now there's a statement. I'd like to hear the answer to that. I mean, I would like to hear that speaker. If you haven't picked one yet, one book I like, we're actually going to be using, What is the Least You Can Believe and Still Be a Christian? The title alone is intriguing. I don't agree with everything the author, in fact, I think the author is way off base on some things. The idea is to create a conversation, not to proclaim answers. If it's possible to do it in person and online, that's good. I will send you another short video about Lent. If you didn't get the first again, let me know, because that was out a couple weeks, 10 days ago. Anyway, a ways back. Blessing of gardens, this is not exclusively a Lenten thing, but this is the right time of year. It's basically blessing of the animals, same concepts, but instead you're blessing gardens. And young adults consistently list the environment as one of their key concerns. So if you can do something like this, link it to environmentally oriented agencies or companies, you have a real chance of grabbing their attention. If you're curious, I can send you a lot more information. And on Facebook events, this is a great place to use co-hosts, and I'll show you what that means in just a second. Okay, I mentioned Facebook events. There's two good training videos by Jerry Potter, and that he's the man I go to, and most of the stuff is free. You can take a look at these, but if you have any questions afterwards, again, feel free to give me a call. You can do an event for multiple events. You can do the Facebook event for multiple activities. And some churches just do them for worship, just announcing they're having worship this Sunday because it shows so widely. And if you can put something about the worship, the sermon is about, you have a guest speaker, that kind of thing. Always getting the word out is key. And notice I keep on using the word beg, because I know it's hard to get a lot of other people involved in some churches. Have them mark on the event, and I'll show you what I mean in a second, that they are going. And I'd even go so far as say, even if you're not sure you're going, please mark you're going, because somebody else looks at it and there's nobody going. That's the discouragement. If somebody looks at it and 10 people say they're going, all of a sudden there's some excitement. You can share the event page. On the event page, you can specifically invite friends. This is a very effective way to spread the word. And if I mark it as I'm going, I can then share it to my friends in addition to it having been shared from the church. So that can be a very good way to spread the word. Okay, this is event actually that was set up. Kathy's was on tonight. The Holy Family in Laurel Springs, New Jersey uses events very, very well. You may want to follow them just to keep an eye on. And notice the key here. They do a good job of you got a very small amount of time. Remember, most everybody's going to see it on a phone. So 8 to 10 words is all they're going to initially see. You've got to grab their attention in that 8 to 10 words. Then they'll read on. If they're not interested in that first 8 to 10 words, they won't read on. I've mentioned landing pages. This is a powerful tool. It's parallel to the Facebook event, but it's on your website. It's one page that includes all the key information that you need to share. This is just a sample I did before Christmas. But you see the intent. You have a little graphic or something about the event or the activity. You have the key information, what time and place. You have the date, the church name. Everything they need is right there. They don't have to go anywhere else. Now, you can if you want. You could have each of these or any of these be a link, an active link where they click on it and they get over to a meditation on Ash Wednesday or something. You can do that. But the idea is the initial landing page should be very, very simple. If there's anything you would find helpful that I've not mentioned, please let me know. That way I can, if you have a question, you have an idea, chances are somebody else will benefit from it too. And send me copies of what you do, particularly if you do get a newspaper story or something like that. When I sent the press releases out, and I will do it every time I send the press releases out, I sent a paper I call Principles. What are the principles in doing a press release successfully? And it talks about some basic stuff about how to distribute it and things. So when you get a story, send me a copy, but also send me a copy of the other things you do. I can share them with you. And if you have something you did in a prior year you think is particularly well done, or you had a good impact or whatever, send that along and I'll share it with everybody else. Let's be friends and share what we've done. All right, we're going to look at the overall process. As I said earlier, I quickly threw those major activities or events at you. Now what we're going to be doing is talking about how we can use them to accomplish our goal of helping people know God better. Because that is our goal. It's not to increase attendance or budget. After all, those are selfish goals. God never mentioned the church budget anywhere in Scripture, and didn't mention upping your attendance. It's all about reaching out and helping people know God's love. Our goal is to do that, and if we do it, if we show God's love by word and example, to quote the prayer book, some people will want to associate with us. The benefits of that include that more people are available to help with ministry. It's not at all unusual for people their first interaction with a church to be helping with the food pantry or Habitat House or whatever. And then, another benefit can be more attendance, more income, but those are fringe benefits. I like to clarify what we're doing. We're not doing evangelism. Evangelism is a series of deep conversations about spirituality, which requires the listener to trust the speaker. And right now, that isn't happening. I believe every human being was created by God with a desire to know God better. What we're doing, I call pre-evangelism. We're building that relationship so we can have those conversations. In other words, we're not walking down the street, knocking on, touching people on the shoulder and saying, let me tell you about Jesus. No, we're trying to build the relationship so when we're ready, they're ready to listen, we're ready to speak. So if I'm right, if God created all human beings with the desire to grow closer to God, why aren't our churches full? And the answer is we're not trusted. People don't trust us enough to come in the door. That we have a very bad reputation among many people. And we also are fighting habits and schedules. People have something going on Sunday morning. It may be sleeping in, it may be going to the coffee shop and reading their email while they have a cup of coffee. It could be playing golf. There's something there. They already have a hectic schedule, and we're asking them to change a habit, change their schedules. That seldom happens in a hurry. This I showed you last week, so I'll just go real quickly through it. The question that was asked, this is a survey that was run, paid for by the Episcopal Church. What characteristics do you associate with Christians in general? Okay, what characteristics do you associate with Christians in general? Now, those who said they were non-religious, actually, it isn't as bad as I would have expected. But anyway, 55% say we're hypocritical, 54% judgmental, 50% self-righteous, etc. None of that surprising. It's the one on the other side that to me is surprising to the extent of being shocking. And I disagree with Bishop Curry's explanation on this. What do Christians associate with Christians? What characteristics do Christians associate with us? 57% say we're giving, 56% say we're compassionate, all good. But that also means 43% were not willing to say Christians are giving. 44% compassionate, 45% wouldn't say we're loving, 50% wouldn't say we're respectful, etc. If we have that bad a reputation among other Christians, then we've got a bad reputation. So our challenge is the question, would you associate with these people, the people that were just described? If not, why would you expect others to do so? That is what they think of when your church is mentioned. If someone says St. Swithin's Church, what they hear is St. Swithin's Church. The word church is what jumps out at them. And these are the impressions they have of church. And what's interesting is last week's gospel, I hadn't thought of this connection, but hits it right on the nose. Philip said, we have found him about whom Moses in the law and the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth. Nathanael said to him, can anything come from Nazareth? Philip said to him, come and see. That's what it's all about. Can anything good come from a church? That's the question lots of people have. Can anything good come from a church? So is there any negativism? I mean, with all this negativism, is there any hope? So sorry, I said that backwards. With all that negativism, is there any hope? There really is. And I sent you that research paper at the beginning of this whole process a couple of weeks ago, I think, if I remember right. Again, if you didn't get it, please let me know. Of 5 churches and the impact they've had. And they're not the only ones. I just tried to pick a variety of churches to talk about. Because people can distrust and even despise church, but love your congregation. Notice the distinction I'm drawing there between church, the institution, the building, congregation, the people. So let's look at the data. Basically, and it stayed fairly consistent. There's a lot of dispute about how to define different words, but something around 10% of Americans call themselves atheists or agnostics. That's different from the ones that say they're not religious, because the not religious still believe in God many times. They may pray, but about 10% are atheists or agnostics. The other end of the spectrum is harder to fill. I look at this as people who have a fulfilling spiritual home, typically a house of worship, but doesn't have to be. It could be a 12-step group or whatever. And you get lots of variation, but something in the mid-20s% of Americans have a fulfilling spiritual home. May more occasionally go to church, but part of my thinking is if, the Christmas and Easter Christian, the ones only go twice a year, they don't have a fulfilling spiritual home. So I'm talking about people who really do. So that leaves about 2/3 of Americans believe in a higher power, believe in God, but do not have a fulfilling spiritual home. And, I divide it roughly in half. There's actually some research out that hits it, that I showed you last week, that hits this pretty close. I was surprised. About a half of those, about 1/3 of Americans believe in God, but do not have any interest in a deeper spiritual life. And about 1/3 of Americans believe in God and are willing to talk to us. They have some interest in having a deeper spirit. They're not anxious about it. It's not high on their priority list. They probably aren't going to come running in on Sunday the first time they hear the name of your church. They're very cautious. They're very untrusting. And knowing some of the information they're getting from the media about other churches, I don't blame them at all. But if they feel respected, and if it touches on their life concerns, isn't just theory, but it's something that's going to impact their lives, they will come talk to us. Or rather, they will allow us to go talk to them. I just came across this yesterday. I'll say again, Barna is a good research organization. They are very evangelical, so you have to be careful of their language a little bit. That they use words in different ways than we use them. For example, for them, outreach is asking people to come to church. It's not serving the poor. For them, discipleship is asking people to come to church. So we use words a little bit differently. But basically what they found was 87% of Christians aged 55 and up want to keep growing spiritually. 87% of those 55 and up want to continue to grow spiritually. And 45% agree with this strongly. Well, if only 23% of all Americans, and obviously that's all Americans, this is over 55, so it isn't a true comparison. But if only 23% of Americans have a fulfilling spiritual home, and 87% of Christians ages 55 and above, that indicates there's a real gap there, a real group of people who want to grow spiritually, and if we reach out to them, are likely to respond. So the question you might have is, okay, that's all good theory, but what potential is there for your church? As I said, about 1/3 of the population are willing to talk, and near your church, about 20-minute travel time. And it may vary some in the city, in the rural areas, but something in that ballpark. To find out how many that is, there's 2 sources of data. The one on the top is actually easier to use. It's a little older, but they have projections up to this year. Actually, I think it's to 2023. But anyway, they have projections. I hate to say it, but the one our national church puts out is, I haven't fully understood, and I'm pretty good at this stuff. So it's confusing. If you're looking for certain types of information, it's very useful. Look for what we're looking for, raw population. It's hard to find. So I use the top one. Key point. If people really wanted to attend church, if all they needed was to know your service times, they would have been in church last Sunday. And yet, over and over again, when you ask people, and I've done this in vestries, what have you done to invite people to your worship? They say, well, we got a sign out on the street that has the worship times. People can find out the worship times. They got to be interested before the worship times even matter. We need to intrigue them enough And that's become one of my all-time favorite words. We need to intrigue them enough to want to know the worship times, that the worship times matter. And you may remember I have a three-phase, three-stage process. I think it describes it well. There's no magic to it. But stage one is taking the person who believes in God and has some faint interest in deepening their spiritual life and intriguing them enough, grabbing their attention to know us, like us, and trust us at least a little bit. And only then are they likely to interact with us. Now, the stage one is going to be entirely impersonal. Social media, newspaper articles, banners, stuff like that. Stage two is when we start having personal interaction. Now, that may be actually in person, or it could be somebody commenting on one of our posts and we comment back to them. So any way we start to actually interact one-on-one. And once that happens, then they may begin to relate with us. They may be able to actually connect with us. And this could happen quickly, but most of the time it takes a long time. And that's one of the problems we run into. There will be people in your congregation, on your vestry, who expect instant results. Oh, we put up a banner and there were still empty seats in the church. Well, yeah, there's going to be. It's going to take time. This scriptural image is another one that's a little bit new to me, but I love it. Stage one, the intrigue stage, is like plowing the field. Jesus used farming images a lot. The interact is like planting the seeds. And then the relate is bringing in the new growth. Now, I don't happen to like that language, the whole harvesting of people language, but I couldn't come up with a better phrase to fit this scriptural image. So you understand where I'm coming from. But unfortunately, what happens more often than not is we treat people like a ghost. Yes, they do cross our paths. They do look at our Facebook. Maybe they hit the like button. And that's the last interaction we have with them. We don't follow up, or maybe they come by the Lenten cross, or maybe even they come in on Sunday. And we don't do our share. They've reached out. I like to look at it like somebody stuck their hand out to me to shake hands with me. Do I shake hands with them? Most of the time we don't. So the process of importance, in the order of importance, is to relate, to interact, to intrigue. If we don't build a relationship, then the potential of somebody returning drops dramatically. If somebody comments on one of our posts and we don't respond to that comment, there's a much less chance they will gradually build a relationship with us. If we don't build a relationship, we've largely wasted our time. And the keys to a relationship are communication. Anybody that's been in therapy, particularly marriage therapy, you know this. It's all about communication. Unfortunately, emails don't work very well. People will probably open their first one because it's unusual, the first one from the church, maybe even the second. But all the research says about 20 to 25% of emails are ever even opened, much less read. Texting is more difficult in some ways, but more likely to be effective because it's seen 90+% of the time. And since it's so short, most people will read it. And I can send you samples. If you're interested, ask me. I can send you samples from other churches. We had them on the screen last time, so it's in your slides. Of course, if all you have is email, use it. If all the information somebody gave you is email, or if they still have a house phone that doesn't take texting, use what you got. And here's one of the surprises for tonight. I promised you, I will pay for up to 5 churches to text for a year. And I'm counting on any church that doesn't really need the money, not asking. I'm not going to ask it. There's no application. Just let me know you want to be one of the 5 and you're covered. The only thing I'll ask for in return is you put me on the texting list so I can see what's happening. And, toward the end, we'll talk about what response you had. Yeah, there are people who think texting is invasive. I don't think it's any more invasive really than email, um, because they have multiple opportunities to opt out to say, don't send me anymore. And one of the changes in philosophy for me, I used to very much be one of these, oh, I got to please everybody. I got to make everybody happy. Well, eventually I figured out that wasn't going to happen. And so I've gone to the point that if I'm polite, asking people to send information, and if that upsets them, they didn't want to be connected to the church anyway. So I'm not going to worry about it. Now, one way to evaluate your results is, are they still connected to a church a year after their first interaction? Are they still connected a year after their first interaction? So, question for you. How many 2022, 13 months ago, Christmas guests are active today? How many of the people who are your guest, first time person, or one of the first times they came in 2022 are active today? In fact, do you even know who was a guest on Christmas 2022? And don't be embarrassed if your answers there are not real positive. For, again, overwhelming majority of churches, they wouldn't know. And the problem is typically, and this is for mainstream Protestant, we're leaving out Roman Catholic, we're leaving out the more evangelical, less than 10% of first-time Sunday guests will still be connected to the church 1 year later. Even though we got them in the door, they're not going to be connected because we ghosted them. One more time. Sounds like a lot. Don't overwhelm yourself. Please, please. Okay, stage 2 is interact. This is a thought process that's really important. What we need to do is get our head around asking ourselves, for everything that we do, how can I meet new people through this activity? And I don't care. Yes, it's certainly Sunday morning, but it's also the bazaar. It's also the neighborhood group that comes and meets in the fellowship hall. It's the people that come in to vote. Anytime people have crossed our path, how can I meet new people through this activity? Not just see them or even greet them, but truly meet them. At the very least, an exchange of names. So the question, how many people came to, and you pick your event, last yard sale or bazaar? How many of the people you did not know did you see or greet? Hi, glad you're here. But how many did you actually meet? And how many are now actively ministering with you? And again, this could be any activity. How many people that came in for the blood drive? For, as I said, for voting, neighborhood association, anything. Because it is possible for people to make the leap from being there for a totally non-religious purpose, like buying things at the yard sale, to become an active member, if we want that to happen. If we want that to happen enough so we tell them something about our church. Another key question. What do people leave knowing about your church they did not know when they arrived? They find the door to go in. Okay, they've learned that. What else do they know? And if the answer is nothing, then why in the world would they come back? If we haven't intrigued them, interested them, why in the world would they build a relationship with us or allow us to build a relationship with them? We always want to be assertive, never aggressive. And, I've shown these a couple other times. This is a banner we did. And this is kind of you'll hear me say, you got a half a second to grab their attention. That's that half a second. God's work, our hands. Oh, what does that mean? And then there's more information. But even the whole thing, you can read the whole thing in 30 seconds? Use it at a flower sale. We also do large photos. And as I pointed out last week, you almost certainly have somebody nearby that can print those. These large printers are very, very common nowadays. The font on the photos I did, and they stink. The font is wrong. I should have done a bolder font. My fault. But it says something about food pantry. It says something about youth. It says something about music. So if they see these things, they've learned a little something about the church. Interact. How do we get their contact information? By being assertive. Stewardship 101, you get nothing when you ask for nothing. And follow-up is absolutely essential. Onto the intrigued phase or stage. The idea is we want to grab their attention, and while we have their attention, tell them our story. Grab their attention and then tell them something about us. Tell them why they want to be in connection with us. As I said, don't get discouraged because results don't come quickly. Business instructors in a business school will say a person needs to be touched by a product or service, and touch means they see about it, they learn about it, they hear about it, whatever. In some way, they're touched by that product or service multiple times before making a decision. Well, with the negative impression of churches, we need even more touches. The one post is not likely to do it. Real quick on general principles, eye-catching graphics. As I said, you got a half a second. That's one number to really keep in mind. Use words to explain the graphic if necessary. So a photo of people sitting around a table really says nothing, but if you put on top asking tough questions, that then answers one of the criticisms of the church, that they're not allowed to talk, they're not allowed to doubt. Most will be seen on a cell phone. Always look at it that way. It's a lot easier most of the time to do it on the computer, but it's going to be seen on a cell phone. Anything that is on a wall, on outside or whatever, count on people being 6 foot away and being able to understand it. Outside things, 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. So you really can't do a whole lot other than a graphic and a few words. This last one I really want to pay attention to for a second. You may have done the finest video, the finest reel, the finest slideshow. I mean, it could win awards internationally. But if the opening scene, the thing they see on their cell phone when it first pops up, is not interesting, they'll never even look at the rest of it. That is the most important. Make sure that opening, and they can have a few words, graphic that grabs attention, make sure it grabs their attention and makes them want to look, wants them to keep looking. The tools, social media, I like to divide them into first tier and second tier tools. Those are my words. The first tier tools are things we put in front of them. The second tier are things they have to come look for. So the web, they will not accidentally stumble on your website, your YouTube, your Facebook page. They're more like they need to be directed to it before they're likely to find it. I mean, it's faintly possible they'll stumble on it, but for all practical purposes, you aren't going to. Now, how can you find enough people to do all this? Well, again, you're not going to do it all, but build a team. Usually it's best to ask for simple tasks. Like this time of year, put a team together that'll work on Shrove Tuesday, for example, or Ashes to Go, or whatever. And it's easier to ask people to be focused on one thing, fairly short, fairly concise. And then if they find that's a comforting thing to have done, they'll continue on. If you have Daughters of the King or Brotherhood of St. Andrews, their vows, and particularly Daughters of the King, include evangelism. But if you've been to a Episcopal baptism, you have vowed before God to proclaim by word and example. And I have, if you'll pardon the phrase, I have thrown that in the face of many a person. You promise God to do this. A group that is usually ignored are shut-ins or partial shut-ins, particularly those who were once really active. They were the ones that were always setting up the potluck supper, but now they can't move tables around anymore. They may not even be able to attend or cook. They're looking for ways to help with their church, and they can do just about everything I've talked about. Very important. Have the team committed to comment and share on posts. Reels, as I point out, short vertical videos, very important to Facebook right now. It's a great opportunity to show. I mentioned the Facebook events. The goal is to correct the negative impressions. TriTank has some great videos on YouTube that you can just link to. I can also download them and personalize them for you if you want, or I can show you how to do them even better. Do your own slideshow. And I think I've sent, but if I have not sent you the instructional video outlines and you'd like them, let me know. What is communion? Showing it in this works really well as a slideshow, showing it in your church so people know what's gonna happen when they come in. Introducing your clergy. If you have less than two clergy, if you only have one clergy person, full-time or part-time, you're a small church and people want to know the leadership. Introducing our clergy will get a lot of attention. And remember, these you can use over and over again, but I have a way to do it that I think is very different from what you might be picturing. So ask me and I'll send you the outline. You can have something on how you make the world better by feeding the poor, something about your kids. Next series, we'll do a whole thing on Holy Week. We got lots of stuff there. A fun one is Episcopal jargon. We use lots of jargon. Do a reel where you explain 2 words that the average person doesn't know. Narthex. Narthex gives you all kinds of things to talk about from the architectural aspects of the church, and I would bet 75% of your members don't know where that word comes from. Again, we ghost most of our guests, particularly on stream services. That tutorial down at the bottom is a free open source software, which is very easy to use. So you can put banners on your stream service very, very easily. TriTank put that together for small, not very technically advanced churches. That was their goal. I mentioned the fact you can get media coverage. I sent you the paper on principles. Remember, the editor who gets that initial press release is your number 1 audience. If that editor isn't interested, the story's going nowhere. I mentioned that local weeklies, the TV, the radio. The UPS has this every door direct. Might be worth considering. It's the postal patron flyer you probably get in your mailbox from time to time. The Facebook page, I just want to call to your attention the page itself. And one of the things I'm offering, if you'd like me to, you just ask. I will take a look at your Facebook page and send in comments. This is a great intro. We begin reading paper. If somebody hands you a piece of paper, your eye's going to go to the upper left-hand corner. That's how we do it. You got a few words to get in there. Now, you can put a lot more in there. So people might learn more about the church. But this next thing they're going to look to, if they're at all interested, is they're going to come here to the About tab. Most churches have nothing at all under that. It's like somebody comes up to you on the street and says, hey, tell me something about your church. And you turn and walk away without saying a word. That's what we do to them. I would recommend thinking about both the intro and the About page. Begin with the words, we are. That's what people want to know. Who you are. We are. And then fill in the rest of it. Your reviews are another one that's interesting to people. And one way to handle that is every vestry meeting, somebody gets asked to post a review. You don't want to overwhelm it in one time. It look a little canned. Photos are also good. There's the About phone. Okay. Yeah, here's the one I wanted to get to. Really, if you read this, it's really a wonderful review of a church that was written in 2017, 7 years ago, almost to the day. And it talking about somebody who's no longer there as clergy. Come on, guys. let's get something current in there. And you don't want to talk about how friendly the church is all the time. You want to talk about ministries. I have not talked evangelism. I said that way back, 40 minutes ago or something. I've talked pre-evangelism. There are good resources on our national church's website about evangelism. There's plenty of stuff out there. Once you get people's attention and you want to do a program or some way to talk to people, there's lots of great material out. I guess you've probably gotten that point already. So what's your first priority? Always prayer. Always prayer. And remember, we're not praying they be changed. We're praying we be changed, that we be the minister God, excuse me, God wants us to be. Now we take the energy, the excitement, and reach out to new people. If anyone has not registered, it really would help me if you'd go ahead and do so. There's the link. And if you know anybody that wants to come in, get more information, get on the mailing list for all the stuff I'm sending out. And then the third class, please just have them register. More the merrier, but it really helps, it really reduces my stress load if people will register. And that kind of gets us past Ash Wednesday, and if you're not tired, I kind of am. Holy Week, though, let's not forget it. Let's not worry about it yet, but it's a fantastic time to reach out. Just so many opportunities. And that's Wednesday, February 21. That's what we're going to talk about, a week after Ash Wednesday. So your most important steps to make are to go ahead and sit down and make decisions about what special events you're going to do. Build a team for each activity. Make sure you have a follow-up system. If your Facebook isn't up to snuff, as I say, if you want, ask me. I'd be happy to help you with it. And make sure as part of that your intro and about tab are what you want them to be. We're hoping to direct people there. We're hoping people will go, oh, that's worth me looking at. Let's make sure there's something for them to find when they come a look at. All right. Well, ran a minute over. If you will unmute yourself, and we'll be here. Kathy, you look relaxed. I'm just jealous.
Ken?
Yeah.
I don't see on your list of people who've registered, Patrick. I don't know if I'm incorrect about this. Barbara Hogue, Amy Simmons, or Rochelle Coley. And I just wanted to let those people know because they won't get your mailings if you haven't filled in the registration.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm registered. This is Barb. I'm registered because I'm getting all the emails.
Yeah, I remember the last name. I don't see it on here though. Okay, but I know you're on it.
Okay.
I can send Rochelle and Pat the link.
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
If you can post that link in the chat, then I think we could all just click it straight from there.
Yeah. Shirley, can you do that?
Just your email?
No, the link, the jot form.
The jot form link.
I don't have it anymore. You gave it to me one time.
Okay.
All right.
Before we leave, let me do that. Hold on. Let me go back to I can do it this way. This will be the quickest and easiest.
Okay.
I had it here somewhere. Where'd I have it? No, I had it.
I put my email address in the chat. I put my email address in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And go down to chat. And it worked. I'm not always confident it will, but there's the registration link too, if anybody else needs it. All right, thoughts, comments, criticisms.
Am I the lone clergy person here?
Well, other than me at the moment, most of the time it's mainly clergy, but this time it's not.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
So the good thing I want to say is we looked at our about, and we're going to change that because it's 3 paragraphs long, and I didn't write it because I would have used less words. But the question I have is, every week I advertise our services, and I'm going to try doing events, and I use colorful graphics that are always related to the scripture. I always have a question. Like, last week, I think it was the call, narrative of Samuel is like, how do we listen for God or something like that? Find out by coming and joining us. But the point is, only 3 people ever look at them. And that means then, because Karen said we had like 6 or 7 people on there, but we have 80 people on our email list. And some of them, and if they're on email, that means they have access to Facebook. They don't like Facebook. And I know, and young people don't like Facebook, but we're in that generation that we like Facebook. My question is, how do you get people to friend our page?
I know people, at least there's one right on our on this call right now that does not use Facebook. And I'm not going to identify them, but I know them. and that's fine, because in the small group that I also belong to, there's quite a few people that don't use it. And so we've found ways. We'd use text messages, we use email.
Yeah.
But Ken, this is something that's been running through my head since you started again this evening about, we're talking about getting people to come to church and inviting them to church. And maybe 40 some years, probably more than 40 years ago now, I went to Curcio.
Okay.
Didn't know a thing about it, but the underlying message that I came away from that with was, you make a friend, be a friend. And it doesn't say bring your friend to church.
No, it doesn't.
It says bring your friend to Christ. And if you are a friend and you can say, well, I'm coming today. You want to come with me? I've done that once, and right now the person hasn't decided to come back yet. But she's still my friend,
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, I have to be really rude because
all right, fine, be rude.
I didn't get an answer to my question.
Yeah.
I know people don't like Facebook, but if that's one of the tools that we need to use, and it's the easiest to use, how do you get people to use it?
Yeah.
Because then, other than that, because we don't have, I was in a parish that had a communications director.
A communications
that I do all of what a communications director does.
Oh, a director.
To the point of the priestly stuff that I need to be focused on goes by the wayside, because I've done all of the stuff that you have suggested, and I'm going to now share some of that joy with some other people, because I think part of it is the technology. But that's the thing I'm concerned about. If you don't, so then what do we use? Instagram. We have an Instagram account. I don't want to use TikTok because my car got broken into because of TikTok, so I'm boycotting them.
Well, let me go ahead and give you some answers to that. First of all, TikTok, has certain advantages, but the big disadvantage to them, it's not geographically limited. So you put something up on TikTok, it might show in Hawaii.
It's everywhere. Right.
Yeah. You can limit Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram are pretty much, they're owned by the same company, and they're pretty similar. In fact, there are ways you can there's a button you can say, show this also on Instagram. So,
Right.
Now, as far as how to expand, it's these other people on here that are going to be the help. If they will take a look at whatever you post and comment on it. Wow, I can't wait to hear that sermon. Are you sure you mean? Could you answer? Things like that, and then share. That then goes to their friends, and Facebook starts doing it
Right. For them.
The other thing I would do is, do you use the @ followers?
I'm starting to.
Okay, that's a good tool. That's a good tool. Um, one of the things I probably wouldn't try to do necessarily every week, but occasionally ask a comment, ask a question that pulls in a response. It's likely to get a response. You know, uh, um, the one about forgiveness. Did Jesus really expect me to forgive the person who abused me?
Yeah.
And you could say, I'll talk about this on Sunday, but love to hear your answer. Another thing, and again, I wouldn't do this often. I don't know your pattern, but like that sentence I grabbed out of the scripture from last week, to post that much and then say, how would you like me to address this? I'm taking input from my sermon. And then it's important for members to respond so that when a non-member sees it, they see an active conversation going on. But the active conversation is the key.
Keith, is your issue that your members don't use Facebook and don't want to use Facebook?
Yes.
So do you know why?
A lot of them, I think, that I've talked to have had negative experiences, and that has turned them off.
Usually, that is because they don't know how to manage Facebook, right? And how to make it, how to limit it. So how to limit, like, so that not everybody can see their posts, so that not everybody, they're not sharing it to the public, the whole world. They're just sharing it to their friends. Would it be possible to have a short class for them on about Facebook? Have you tried that?
Yeah, Rochelle, didn't you do something like that a while back?
No. We had a forum on how to use how to do online giving.
Okay, maybe we need to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, and I'm in my 60s. I'm still learning how to use Facebook, right? I mean, there's still things about it I don't understand. A lot of things about it I don't understand. But, and one of our, my members is on here, Amy, but she's much better at than I am, but she's a lot younger. But so there is a lot that I don't even understand, but I'm learning. And every time, and you have to keep asking those questions. And because sometimes with a lot of our churches, they're not on Facebook because they don't have internet access. So, or they don't know how to use even the internet. So, I mean, that at least if your people know how to use it and get on it, that's one step in the right direction. And then maybe teaching them about the safety of how to use Facebook safely, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Ken?
Thank you.
Facebook is not that it's by no means perfect. It's just the easiest way to reach the greatest number of people.
Right.
And, there's a lot of the talk about it, how no young people, actually young people, they just don't use it in the same numbers as they use Instagram, TikTok, and that kind of thing. But I know whenever you do an ad, if you do an ad, it gives you a analytic that tells you how many people under 25 saw it, how many people under 35, that kind of thing. And you get it's not insignificant number that are younger. But, and back to do one thing well before expanding. If people feel fairly comfortable doing what they're doing on Facebook, go ahead and create an Instagram account, link to that, and then start growing that too.
Okay.
That will reach a little different demographic.
Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah.
When they were talking about that, it made me think of what we did at our Father with the kids that Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And, that would be, if you want to explain that to them, that would be a good way to give people the opportunity to get involved with their computer or with Facebook or with whatever it is they need to learn about.
Okay.
Yeah, we just invited some of the younger people to train the people who needed help. We did not call them older people. We called them people who needed help. But that's one of those, I never expected this. I wasn't ready. We had 4 TV stations show up for that. that was a logistical nightmare. But something over 1 million people saw the church on TV. It was just an unusual activity, happened to be on a slow news day. So we had a bunch of people. We had, like I say, 4 different, and I've got in that principles, there's a little, just a short discussion about if you're going to have TV, if you may have TV, make sure you have somebody ready to be the spokesperson. And the key is they've got to get their point across in 20 to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because if you go longer, the TV will record it and then pull the 20 to 30 seconds they want out. If you give them the 20 to 30 seconds you want shown and then stop talking.
Ken, let me add one more comment. When we did that at our father, I don't think it was treated as an evangelism activity. I don't know that any kind of information was gotten about the people there. But I talked to several people that were even older than I am, and I'm 71. So what they said about it was, you know, I hope your church does this again. If you have more activities like this, we want to know about it. You know, so just making that available to, shall we say, less experienced people, and the kids enjoyed teaching it, and you know, they're not usually in that position, and they were good teachers. They were very patient and good teachers. So it was just a fabulous experience.
Other things.
Yeah. I do another question. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I like the analogy of plow, seed, and I would say invite people to eat the produce.
Ah, I like that. That's much better. Thank you.
And I also said too that where we are, and my bishop, because I talked to, we've got a really great provisional bishop right now. Hopefully, we're also in the midst of trying to find a new bishop, so this makes all of our time really split. We're in downtown Rochester, and we did Ashes to Go. First year, excellent. Second year, less so. And it's interesting because I say, you know, it's watching the people who have not a clue. And I think, you know, having the thing to explain what it is, and there are people that just won't take it at all, you know. And so I liken our little stretch of God's acre is a little bit rocky, you know. And so there's a seed that takes root, and there's a lot of it that falls, you know, shoots up too fast, can't put down roots, and it dries up and withers. And part of that, I think, is how do we again make those touches with the community when there is so much suspicion. And our diocese has unfortunately gone through an issue with its former bishop, which doesn't cast us in the best light for people who don't know the Episcopal Church.
Yep. Well, you know, another good image I've suggested people do. I don't know. Do you have Costco up there? The Costco warehouse?
Yeah.
Okay. You know how they have the sample, you know, come by and get a sample of this product? Well, if you ever get a chance, just stand there and watch the person with the sample. Watch what a small percentage of people stop and get the sample. All right. But it's worth the business to do it.
Yeah.
They're okay if it's 1 out of 100. They're excited if it's 2 out of 100. So, you know, if we're doing Ashes to Go or something and we don't get everybody, that's okay.
I'll give them some chocolate because it's Valentine's Day.
There you go. I've been looking for a link. I like that.
So you get twofer. I'll give you a Hershey's Kiss.
Well, and we had a friend offered to make a little stencil so you could get pictures in a heart. Just cause. Like, bless your heart.
Hey, Keith, I have to tell you that Amy and I are from the Diocese of Eastern Michigan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Oh, whoops. I didn't mean it. I didn't.
No, that's okay.
I didn't realize that. I am so sorry. See,
No, don't be sorry.
Church is
No,
a small world.
I love that his first response to that was an apology.
no, I just wanted, I was just going to say, well, it's a shared pain is what I was going to say. Yes.
Yeah.
I just,
It is what it is.
thank you.
Yep.
I say the exact same thing. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of brings up a topic I skimmed past. Right now, there's a lot of Methodists looking for a new spiritual home.
That's right.
That's one of the reasons I like that video on what is communion, because they have a different, their view of communion is a little closer to the Baptist, a little closer to the remembrance side of it, and they receive it differently. So they might be wondering. And again, they want to know about who's this clergy person I'm going to be talking to. So those two little short videos showing up as often as possible can be a real help to reach out to that group that's searching right now.
Yeah. And I did do 2 of those little story things.
Good.
And they got a lot of traction on Facebook, but again, they were all my friends in other dioceses. And some were churched and non-churched. There were a couple of local people, that I know on Facebook. They saw it, but it's hard to keep that going. And I think, like you said, thank you for saying you don't have to do it every week.
No. This guy I mentioned, Jerry, who does all the training videos I give you links to. That's one of the things he says over and over again. It's nice to do 1 or 2 a week, and he's talking to businesses. It's nice to do 1 or 2 a week, but if all you can do is put good content out once a month, go once a month. It's the quality of the content that matters, not the frequency.
You're good.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm getting most of this from other people. I just bring it together.
Don't tell him that too often. I have to live with him.
Well, she keeps me settled.
Oh, let's see. Where's my?
Yeah. Lee mentioned that you can boost your posts and you can boost events, which I didn't know until a few months ago. Boost means turning your post or your event into an ad. And what it means basically is then they show it more widely. And that's probably, I don't know, Kathy, I'll be curious to hear your thought on this because you do so many of them. But I think probably boosting events is a good way to reach out because you've got all that information on there. Kathy, did you ever boost your events?
Well, yeah, I do paid ads sometimes.
Yeah.
And it seems like Boost Event is the same thing. The good thing is you can target it at, like I do a family ministry, so I can target it at parents of kids, 6 to 8 years old or whatever. Certain age groups. For the blessing of the animals, we target, people who like, cats, dogs, horses, fish. I check off all the boxes. And then you can target it as far as a radius around your church. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the most valuable one is making sure it's only shown within a reasonable distance from your church.
Yes.
You probably have within, oh Lord, Keith, for you probably within a 20-minute travel time, you probably have 100,000 people. So you don't want to go further out. That just spreads your.
We did targeted mailings, like only within I think maybe no further than 2 miles.
Yeah,
and there was still a lot.
Yeah, and now you mentioned something about you got new housing going in nearby. That's one I go back and forth on. So this is not a recommendation other than to think about. But the EDDM from the post office, the postal, once there, it's pretty well full, might be worth thinking about. Well, actually, you don't have to wait. Yeah, you want to have enough so it's worth the effort. But you
Well,
don't have
there's
to
a
wait
big apartment building across the street, and we've got 2 others that are nearby.
Mm-hmm. That
So
that might be, the way they do it is you have to get a mailman's total delivery route. So the mailman's going to put it in everything on his route. So, and there's a on the post office's website, there's a map you can dig up that'll show you where the routes are. So you can see, how many are on that route and how much further than the apartment complexes it covers and stuff like that. But we did one with Lee in Kernersville, North Carolina. And I put it was on the slides last week, what we did as what we did as a handout, what they got.
Seems to be 2 kinds of Facebook pages. I know this because our calligraphy guild was told that the group page or whatever that is seen on the majority piece of, that I would sign into, that it was going to be taken down or reconfigured. So the woman who was doing that one ended up almost like a business kind of page.
Mm-hmm.
And tons of people like our page, and we get comments about it on it, about our guild, but we don't necessarily get more members. In that, or can we join our? We're gonna have a workshop soon. Anybody want to join? Even if we put it out there, it doesn't get as much.
All right, thank you.
Mileage.
Okay.
So
there's actually 3 kinds of Facebook pages.
Oh, there's a third?
There's the personal profile, which is if you just sign up, that's what you're likely to get, is a personal profile. That's the individual one.
Okay.
There's business page, and what they've been doing is they've been bringing those together. They're still theoretically still different, but effectively they're the same thing now. And then there's, as you say, there's the group, which is a subcategory, if you will. And that's one of the things, Keith, I should have mentioned when you were talking about reaching out. Don't you do this, but if one of these other people watching is willing, is look for the groups that are near your church.
yes.
I don't know, is there a neighborhood name for your area?
Other than downtown? I'm not sure.
Historic City Hall District,
Oh, are we? Okay.
or
You can-
Cornhill.
Yeah. Search under groups, and the one thing I'd recommend is doing it, keep flipping your words around, because the search bar is kind of flaky on the groups. But you go to groups on your page, you click on that, and again, all this is step by step in last week's presentation. And then under the search bar, you put things like Rochester, you put things like City Hall area, things like that. And you'll probably find a number of possible groups that might have, and hear the might have people who might be interested. Then when you get ready to do a post on your page, you just go ahead and post it on the other pages. And it'll actually make that very easy. There's a little form. It'll just automatically, do you want to post on these other pages too? And just checkbox.
Okay.
And now some of them you have to join the group, some you don't. Some you'll probably run into a couple that won't take a post by a church. I mean, that's life. Look for ones that are particularly, don't forget to look for ones that are, what were you saying, Karen, your group?
Yeah, my calligraphy group. They have
Look for ones that have an interest. The LGBTQ group, several churches have joined and found that's a great one because almost nobody's reaching out to them. We all say you are welcome, but we aren't reaching out. We'll let you come in, but we're not going to reach out. But you can also, Kathy mentioned, if you're doing something special. I have not found one for inactive Roman Catholics in our area, but I would certainly look. If there is one, I would certainly make a point of being welcoming on that group. I have not seen one for, I'm not sure how they're referring to themselves, but the Methodists who have left their church. But that would be another one I'd look for. Because I believe they're probably looking for community, which means they have probably gone ahead and set up Facebook groups.
Wow. You've got friends in Rochester, New York, 280 members.
There you go.
We have 120, still have 123 members of the Friends of Historic Two Saints as well.
There you go. That's a great group to make sure you post it.
Even though there haven't been posts since 19 or 18, whatever,
a long time.
whatever this century is, yes.
But that would definitely be one I'd go ahead and again, not to go out of your way to do more work, just cut and paste.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've done the work, it doesn't take long to post to second place.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
I do.
You know what? I will try to remember to send out. I haven't done it this time around, but there's a paper I've got on playing with text. You may have seen when I send out an email, the text looks a little strange, a little different. You can use that same on the Facebook posts, so that it just jumps out at people. It just looks a little different. And I'll resend that paper. The other place that comes in handy with me is I've got under a folder on my computer, I've got 17 different subfolders. If I want to be able to find one in a hurry, I do that. I put it in a funky font, and then it jumps out at me.
Well, thank you. I need to jump off. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Keith.
We'll be busy on Saturday, Karen. We'll get you out before 10. So I'll see you then.
Thank you, because I got to get something done.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye, all.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night. So any other questions or comments or reflections?
No, I'm going to get going and do some more stuff.
All righty. Let me go see what I can binge on TV for a minute.
There you go.
All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.